My parents only had me so I could play the role of my dead little brother. My parents chose my gender for me, and now I want to switch back. I was 6 when my mom started calling me Mikey instead of Matilda. I recognized the name immediately. It was the name of my dead baby brother, the one they always talked about, the one they miscarried before me. Well, I did not want to be difficult, so I responded without complaint. But from there, it was like a switch had flipped. First, the Barbies disappeared from my room and were replaced with Hot Wheels tracks. Mom would beam whenever I crashed toy trucks together instead of brushing doll hair. Dad bought me a baseball glove for my 7th birthday, even though I had circled the Easy Bake Oven in the Toys R Us catalog. Around that time, I learned that getting my parents to love me was infinitely more important than what I wanted. By the time I was in elementary school, I had perfected the act: cargo shorts, graphic tees with sharks on them, hair buzzed short. Every 3 weeks at Frank's barber shop, the first time I used the boys' bathroom, my hands shook so badly I could barely work the zipper. But I did it for them. Naturally, this led to a few questions, but I always shut them down with authority and told them, this is just how things are. Or at least as much authority as a 7-year-old could humanly possess, lol. Eventually, I think my teachers actually started believing I was a boy because the questions faltered. And you know what's messed up? The better I got at being Mikey, the more they loved me. Dad started taking me to Knicks games, and Mom made my favorite Coca-Cola pancakes every Sunday, ruffling my short hair while calling me her perfect little man. She'd get this look in her eyes sometimes, staring at me like she was seeing someone else. At night, I'd lie in my NASCAR sheets and imagine what it would feel like to paint my nails purple and be called Matilda. That was my real name, the one they'd picked before they wanted me to be someone I wasn't. But then I'd remember how Mom cried on the anniversary of Mikey's due date, and I'd push those dreams down deeper. Middle school was when the cracks started showing. I had to tape down my chest to flatten what was growing, and I wore hoodies in summer to hide my changing shape. The worst part was Dad. He'd get this uncomfortable look whenever I slipped up, giggled too high, sat with my legs crossed wrong, gestured too delicately. He never said anything, just cleared his throat and looked away. But he knew. We both knew, and we both kept pretending. Then came the morning I woke up to blood. I was 15 and thought I was dying. I ran sobbing to my parents' room, pajama bottoms soaked red. Mom took one look and went pale. "Get out!" she screamed. "Get out! Get out! Get out!" Dad grabbed my shoulders and steered me to the hallway. His hands were shaking. "Matilda," he said. My real name sounded foreign in his mouth. "We need to talk." That's when he told me everything. "When you were born a girl," Dad whispered. Mom could not handle it. Rage boiled in my blood. 9 years, I said. "You made me pretend for 9 years. It was the first time my family gave me permission to be angry, and now it was all coming out at once." "Just do it for a little longer," Dad begged for her. "Please, you're all she has left of him." I felt something inside me break. "I am done being your ghost." The next day, I took my babysitting money to Target and bought everything Mikey was supposed to hate: sundresses, lip gloss, hair clips, pink, everything. The girl at the register smiled and said I had great taste. I almost cried right there in the checkout line. Mom was waiting when I got home. As soon as she saw the bags, her face went dark. "What did you do?" she demanded. "I'm done being Mikey," I said, pulling out a yellow sundress. "My name is Matilda." She grabbed the kitchen scissors so fast I did not see it coming, started shredding the dress and screaming about how I was culling her baby all over again. Dad tried to stop her, but she turned on him with scissors raised. That's when I dialed 911. The cops separated us. A social worker with tired eyes asked me questions while Mom sobbed in the kitchen. "I need to see some documents," she said. "Birth certificates, medical records." Dad returned with papers, hands trembling. The social worker spread them across our table, cross-referencing on her tablet. Her frown deepened. "Mr. Peterson," she said, "you said your son died in 2009. March 15th, Mom whispered. I held him for 6 minutes. The social worker showed her screen to her partner. They exchanged a look that made my stomach drop. There was no death certificate on file. No birth certificate either. In fact, There was no record of my mother giving birth at any hospital that year. These medical files showed her only pregnancy was with Matilda. The room spun. Mom started laughing that broken sound. Before anyone could say anything else, my mom screamed, "He was real. I have proof the showbox." I stopped listening after that because that's when I knew my life had been ruined for no other reason than my mom being an effing psycho. Mom lunged for the hall closet, screaming about the showbox under the winter coats. Dad tried to restrain her, but she elbowed him hard in the stomach and he doubled over, gasping. The social worker quickly blocked the closet with calm but firm authority. Mom's hands were shaking violently, scratching at her arms until they bled. "You don't understand," she hissed. "I have his hospital bracelet." Her voice cracked as she shouted, and the officers exchanged concerned looks. One stepped away to radio for backup and a mental health professional. Through the kitchen window, I saw Mrs. Chen from next door peeking at the police cars with her phone out. I knew she was already texting the neighborhood group chat. Within minutes, everyone would know something was happening at the Peterson house. An officer approached me and asked if I felt safe. I had to choose between watching Mom's breakdown or answering him. She kept whispering, "Mikey, Mikey, Mikey," like a prayer. The sound made my skin crawl. While I spoke to the officer in the living room trying to explain years of confusion in simple terms, Mom somehow slipped past everyone and dumped the entire closet contents on the floor. I started picking up the mess she'd made. It was automatic after years of keeping her happy. The officer noticed my compulsive tidying and made a note on his pad. Mom opened the showbox with shaking hands. Inside were tiny baby clothes, an ultrasound photo, and a handwritten birth plan for Michael James Peterson, dated 2009, my dead brother who was never born. My phone buzzed. Emma texted, "OMG. Are you okay? My mom says there's cops at your house." The social worker noticed and asked about my support system. I did not know how to explain that my best friend thought I was a boy named Mikey. She glanced at the ultrasound, asking Mom basic questions about the pregnancy when she found out, which doctor, what hospital. While Mom rambled answers, I saw the social worker secretly photographing the documents with her phone. Dad was trying to delete something on his phone when an officer asked him to step outside. His face went wide as he fumbled with the screen. Grandma Peterson's car screeched into the driveway. She stormed in, demanding to know why her son was being questioned. She grabbed Dad's arm, hissing about needing him to co-sign her home equity loan tomorrow. Even now, it was about money. The social worker turned to me. "Have you ever tried to tell anyone before?" The words stumbled out. "I tried telling my teacher in 3rd grade, but she just smiled and said, I had such an imagination." Mom's Facebook started pinging with worried messages as Mrs. Chen's post spread through the neighborhood. Before anyone could stop her, Mom grabbed my phone and started responding as me, telling everyone everything was fine. From outside, I heard Dad say, "My wife's been struggling since the miscarriage." I could not help myself. I shouted. From inside, there was no miscarriage. Mom's face twisted. She still controlled my health insurance, reminding me she could cancel my therapy appointments if I kept lying. Tuesday's appointment was specifically for gender dysphoria treatment, the one thing keeping me sane. I was so exhausted. When addressing the social worker, I accidentally called her Mrs. Mom and then broke down crying in embarrassment. Years of training had messed with my head, and Sarah, Mom's sister, arrived next. She pulled Mom aside and whispered urgently, "I can't keep covering for you, but I can't let them take you either." My stomach dropped. She knew something. She'd known all along. Through the window, I saw neighbors gathering on the sidewalk, whispering and pointing. I caught a fragment. "Always thought that kid was off." Mom changed tactics, claiming the ultrasound was from her support group friend who had lost a baby. The lie was so smooth I almost believed it myself. Emma's mom texted, "Dad, if you need someone to take Matilda for a few days, but I need to know she's safe first." At least someone was using my real name. I pulled up Mom's old Facebook. On the tablet the social worker had left and saw posts from 2009 showing her drinking at wine club meetings, clearly not pregnant. Dad saw the posts and finally started to smile at catching Mom's lie, then noticed I was recording his reaction. His smile vanished. Mom locked eyes with me, her voice deadly quiet. You want to be a girl? Fine, but you'll do it without parents. I realized then that Mom had already sent a group text from my phone before the officers arrived, telling everyone I was having a breakdown. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the responses from friends offering support for my identity crisis. Dad was now telling the social worker that Mom was just trying to help me fit in better, while Mom told a different officer that Dad had forced his delusions on their daughter. They were coordinating their stories, turning me into the problem child who could not decide who she wanted to be. The social worker asked to see more documentation. I remembered my old journal from when I was 8, hidden under my mattress. When I opened it, my heart sank page after page in my childish handwriting. I love being Mikey. Mommy smiles. Now, my own words would support their narrative. Grandma Peterson cornered the officer, insisting I had always been Mikey to them. She pulled out a Christmas card from last year signed Love, Mikey, in my handwriting. She explained this was just teenage rebellion. The social worker asked about my morning routine. I explained how I had left for school in boy clothes planning to change at Emma's house, but then she pulled up our Ring doorbell footage. There I was, leaving in cargo shorts and a baseball jersey, looking every bit the teenage boy they claimed I was. My timeline was falling apart. An emergency custody evaluator arrived within the hour. While they interviewed Mom, who expressed concern for her son, I missed my therapy appointment. My therapist texted about the no-show fee, another consequence of this chaos. I checked my bank app. My Target spree had maxed out my babysitting savings. I could not even afford lunch tomorrow. The price of trying to be myself was adding up in ways I had not expected. Mom orchestrated another confrontation at the grocery store when she spotted me with Aunt Rebecca. She sobbed loudly about kidnapping, drawing stares from other shoppers. Rebecca held my hand tightly as we walked away, but the damage was done. Everyone had seen the scene. The principal called Rebecca's phone. I had been absent for 3 days. If I missed any more school, I would lose my honoral status and jeopardize my college applications due next month. My entire future was crumbling because I dared to wear a dress. That night, I slept on Rebecca's couch while Mom posted missing my baby on Facebook with all my boy photos. People prayed for Mikey's safe return. She had turned me into a runaway son instead of a daughter fighting for her identity. Dad sent me a text for the first time. Just come home and be Mikey until you're 18, then do whatever you want. The path of least resistance. 3 more years of living a lie. I deleted the message without responding. Emma's mom received an anonymous call threatening her daycare license if she kept helping me. Emma herself texted, crying emojis filling the screen. She was sorry, but her parents could not lose everything for me. I understood, but it still hurt. I kept posting my truth on Instagram despite losing followers daily. Friends I had had since elementary school unfollowed me. The baseball team blocked me. My social life was evaporating. Aunt Rebecca asked a hard question while making dinner. What if Mom really believed she had a son? What if she was sick, not evil? I could not answer. The distinction mattered for treatment, but not for the damage done. I made a TikTok admitting something I had never told anyone. In 4th grade, a girl had called me pretty and I had hit her just enough to make her cry to maintain my cover as Mikey. The guilt had eaten at me for years. Rebecca helped me access Dad's email. He had never changed his password from my birthday. There I found forwarded Amazon receipts from Mom, orders for Mikey's clothes placed a day after she had viewed my birth certificate online. She had always known I was Matilda. The emergency hearing was moved up. Mom's lawyer claimed parental alienation by extended family. Rebecca had to give a deposition. Legal bills were mounting on both sides. In court, Mom told the judge she just wanted me to have the confidence of a boy in a sexist world, then sobbed about losing her mother. Real tears and real pain. But they did not excuse what she had done to me. I admitted on record that I had played along for years, even corrected people who questioned whether I was really a boy, so my credibility was shattered by my own survival tactics. Mom's lawyer presented videos. At 8, me joyfully playing baseball. At 10, proud of a skateboard trick. At 12, laughing with the boys' basketball team. I had looked genuinely happy because I had learned that being Mikey meant being loved. Rebecca's lawyer filed a motion to compel psychiatric evaluation for Mom. A small victory in a losing battle. The judge ordered supervised visitation only. Mom collapsed in grief. We had lost each other. Dad filed a claim that Rebecca had coached me, producing texts taken out of context. Betrayal deeper than I had imagined. Everything hinged on Dr. Kumar, Mom's therapist of 10 years. But therapist-client privilege meant she could share only limited information. Mom's manipulation grew more sophisticated. She posted old videos of me saying, "I loved being a boy," carefully edited to remove context. My own voice was being used against me. The custody evaluator interviewed my teachers. 3 sided with Mom. 2 supported me. The principal remained neutral. Support letters poured in from both sides. The community was splitting down the middle over a battle that should never have existed. The judge ordered psychological evaluations for all of us, but the earliest appointment was 6 weeks out, 6 weeks of limbo living with Rebecca, 6 weeks of missed school and therapy and normal teenage life. I called Mom's best friend, Janet, who admitted she had always wondered about the situation but had stayed loyal. She provided Mom's fertility clinic records but refused to testify against her friend. Mom's own Facebook posts from 2008-2009 about fertility struggles became evidence. Dad finally broke down during a meeting with social services. Mom had threatened to lie if he did not play along with her Mikey fantasy. He could not lose her too. The Target employee who witnessed our confrontation provided a statement. She had seen Mom follow me into the store, waiting by the dresses before approaching. It was clear Mom had spent my entire childhood preparing for this eventual rebellion. Every photo, every document, every social media post was weaponized to support her narrative. I finally understood something that broke my heart all over again. Mom needed me to be Mikey more than she needed me to exist as myself. I was never enough as Matilda, only as her replacement son was I worthy of love. Rebecca and I decided to fight for custody rather than emancipation. If I was emancipated, there would be no protection for future Mikes. At least this way there would be a record. Mom's own documentation backfired. The school form she filled out claiming I was transgender included her own notes about me refusing to accept my biological sex, her own words proving she had forced the identity on me. I presented 47 pieces of evidence to the judge: photos, documents, social media posts, text messages without anger, just exhaustion. The judge noted my unusual composure for a 15-year-old. Years of survival tactics had taught me to shut down my emotions. A clear pattern emerged from Mom's Pinterest. Years of pins about raising boys, not a single post about daughters, not one photo of me as Matilda after age 6. Both legal teams prepared for Dr. Kumar's testimony. Our entire case might depend on what she could share without violating privilege. The courtroom was packed, baseball team parents behind Mom, my real friends with Rebecca, Emma alone in the back corner with red eyes. Mom compulsively straightened her baseball photos on the table. I caught myself deepening my voice when the judge asked me questions, years of habit hard to break. Dr. Kumar took the stand. She stated that treatment had been ongoing for a decade and that she had concerns about the minor's safety. The judge noted the implications while Dr. Kumar avoided revealing privileged information. Then Grandma Peterson made her confession. She had told Mom they would write her out of the will if she did not give them a grandson. The family business needed a male heir, she explained, as if that justified destroying my childhood. The judge ordered full psychological evaluations for our entire family with separate therapeutic interventions required. The court-appointed document examiner approached with his findings. The birth certificate had been crudely altered with whiteout and reprinting. Forgery of a government document was a felony. He stated it clearly. Mom's delusion went deeper than anyone realized. She believed I was Mikey reincarnated, not just a replacement. Same soul, wrong body, she had told Dr. Kumar in sessions. The therapist confirmed this without breaking privilege. Mom finally broke completely. She screamed she had had a miscarriage at 6 weeks and that Mikey was real to her. The judge had to call a recess as Mom sobbed uncontrollably. When we reconvened, The judge asked if I wanted Mom to face criminal charges for identity fraud. The courtroom held its breath. I thought about every year of lies, the stolen childhood, the life I had never lived. I chose mandatory therapy over prosecution. Mom needed help, not prison. I still wanted my real mother back someday, if that was even possible. The custody decision came swiftly. Rebecca was granted full custody, while my parents would get supervised visitation pending completion of their treatment programs. Mom wailed as the decision was read. The community reaction was immediate and harsh. Baseball parents turned their backs on me in the courthouse hallway. 3 neighbors offered Rebecca support. Others whispered. The Little League board announced they were relocating their fundraiser to avoid controversy. School became my next battle. I started sophomore year at a new school as Matilda. The administration corrected my records, though some teachers still slipped and called me Mikey. I kept one photo from the Happy Times, a Halloween picture where I had chosen my own princess costume before Mom made me change. Dad could not let go. He showed up at my new school with Mikey's baseball gear, insisting I would want it back eventually. Security escorted him off campus. Rebecca filed for a restraining order that afternoon, and it was granted to include both parents. Mom's treatment facility sent weekly updates. She was struggling to accept reality, they reported. Some days she acknowledged having a daughter. Other days she insisted Mikey would come home. I discovered Mom had open credit cards and Mikey's name identity theft on top of everything else. Rebecca helped me file fraud reports. The financial mess took months to untangle. Each document was another reminder of how deep Mom's fantasy had gone. Emma reached out through a mutual friend. She wanted to reconnect, but her parents forbade it. We managed one brief coffee shop meeting. She cried and apologized repeatedly. I understood her position, but our friendship could not survive the weight of everything. Dad moved in with Grandma Peterson. He sent letters through the court-appointed supervisor, each one more desperate than the last. Sometimes he used Matilda, sometimes Mikey, like he was caught between 2 realities. Rebecca showed them to the court supervisor, who recommended extending his mandatory therapy. Mom escaped her facility during an outdoor activity and barricaded herself inside our old house, now up for sale. Police found her in my old room, surrounded by Mikey's things, singing lullabies. She was transferred to a more secure facility. The town newspaper ran a careful article about a family crisis without naming names, but everyone knew. Local businesses chose sides. Frank's barber shop lost customers who supported me, while others boycotted places that still served my parents. Dr. Kumar testified at the final custody hearing that Mom had been planning the transformation since before my birth, disappointed by ultrasounds showing a girl. The fantasy of Mikey had existed longer than I had. Rebecca hired a lawyer to pursue civil damages, not for money, but to create legal precedent protecting other children. I started therapy specifically for identity reconstruction, twice a week, working on discovering who Matilda actually was, separate from who Mikey had been forced to be. Mom's mother, my other grandmother, finally spoke out. She had been estranged for years, warning that her daughter's obsession with having a son was unhealthy. She had tried to intervene when I was born, but Mom cut her off. The final custody review confirmed Rebecca's permanent guardianship. Mom's parental rights were suspended pending successful completion of intensive therapy. Dad retained limited rights but only under strict supervision. The judge called it one of the most complex cases of psychological abuse he had seen. 6 months later, I was thriving in my school's theater program. The stage became a place where playing a character was a choice, not a survival mechanism. Mom had started accepting reality in her intensive therapy, though progress was slow. Dad lived with his mother, processing years of enabling behavior. Rebecca provided the stable home I had never had. With clear boundaries and unconditional acceptance, I was building my identity beyond survival mode, discovering I loved poetry, hated math, and had a talent for painting. At dinner, I still set 3 places at the table. One for me, one for Rebecca, and one for hope that someday I would have parents who could love Matilda.